to keep people from supporting him or looking into his views a little bit more. Um, but as far as that goes, you know what I'm saying? Like, we obviously might have. The thing is, we might have some differences of opinion, but it might seem different on face value. But we probably agree more than we disagree. You know what I'm saying? Because um, that whole business with the whole segregation and all of that, like we can both agree on that you know what I'm saying, obviously there should be mixing of people in schools, but it's because we're all paying for that institution, you know what I'm saying, we're all paying for that institution's existence, as far as public education goes. um, but moving on to the three-fifths clause part of your video, I was watching it and I was kind of thinking like, yo, why did he even include that part? You know what I mean? Because the comment I wrote to you, I was actually saying the same things you were saying, but I checked it out and it actually got cut off. I guess there's a certain amount of words you can put in your response on your comments on YouTube, so it actually did get cut off. But I have a video that I made a couple months back called "Understanding the Three-Fifths Clause" um, under my channel. You can check that out, you know, if you want to. But I didn't get my view of the Three-Fifths Clause from a libertarian website. I actually got it from studying Frederick Douglass's memoirs. I did a paper on it back in school, you know what I'm saying? So I had to study up on it pretty for a while, for a couple weeks, you know what I'm saying? But in his memoirs, in Frederick Douglass's memoirs, you know what I'm saying, who lived at the times, he was one of Abraham Lincoln's good friends type of shit, you know what I'm saying? Like, in his memoirs, he talks about, or he writes about, the arguments he had with Abraham Lincoln over the Constitution, and how he initially believed that the Constitution was a anti-freedom document, and this and that. But as you read further into his memoirs, it kind of goes on. It shows his I don't want to say transformation, but progression into understanding the Constitution as the pro-freedom document that it was originally set out to be. And he went on to explain about the Three-Fifths Clause for, you know, like for the future generations who would come to this section of the Constitution and believe the same way he thought, and to try to correct that understanding. Now, this comes from a very, very prominent African American in United States history, so it has nothing to do with libertarianism, you know what I'm saying? It had to do with, you know, studying up on your history, you know what I'm saying? Or my history, you know what I mean? But you were right, you're right. It totally came down to a game of numbers. You know, it was a compromise, proposed, I should say, not imposed. It was proposed by the North, because the North wanted to count African American slaves as individuals, but not full U.S. citizens. You know, so they wanted, like you were saying, they wanted the representatives in the House of Representatives to shift that power to the South, to where they can have a little bit more influence in the Congress and in the government. But the North proposed that, well, I mean, if you're going to count them as full individuals and citizens, you have to give them the rights of every U.S. citizen, and you can't have them as slaves. And the South, obviously, like you were saying, they were saying, well, no, they're not people, they're not citizens, they're our property, you know. And then the North countered with, well, if you're gonna count them as property and you're gonna ask for more representatives based off of your definition of property, we're gonna also do the same thing, and we're gonna count our tables and our chairs and our horses and our buggies, and we're gonna increase our number of representatives. And the South comes back and says, well, that's just ridiculous. Like, the idea of owning human beings and keeping them in shackles and getting free labor off of these motherfuckers wasn't a ridiculous idea in a country that's supposed to be the land of the free and home of the brave. You know what I mean? But so obviously the compromise came to be, but the North implemented it in a way to where they could actually keep the check in place to keep the South from getting too much influence and spreading that slavery, that slave-minded mentality up north and infiltrating the northern states further. Like you were saying, New York was a pro-slavery state for a while, but it was basically a compromise to keep them from gaining too much influence and shaping the destiny of the country, really. because obviously the North want to see black people free. You know what I'm saying? You look at the Underground Railroad with Harriet Tubman. She was helped all along the way by a bunch of white people, old white people who was like, yeah, man, we don't agree with this shit. You know what I mean? And then you had a lot of people in the South who was also involved with freeing slaves as well. But you know what I mean? So you got some good questions you had. You know what I mean? I hope this video cleared it up for you as far as my position. You know what I mean? I don't want you to think that I'm making this video to be like, yo, man, you're a dumb motherfucker, man. You know, like, we got enough of that shit on YouTube, really. I appreciate the civility. I appreciate the open dialogue. If you want to make a video responding to this, be my guest. We can keep it going, I guess, if you'd like to. I hope I addressed your situation, or not your situation, but your questions adequately, I guess. But these views are my views, you know what I'm saying, and I wouldn't impose them on anybody else. So you have a right to your opinion, you know what I'm saying. You don't gotta vote for Ron Paul, but I'd hope you'd at least look into him a little bit more. You might be a little bit impressed when you look at his voting record and the speeches he's given in Congress and shit like that. He's not, I mean, he's a goofy dude, you know what I mean, no question about it, you know, he's a goofy motherfucker, but as far as honesty goes, we looking a little slim up in Washington, D.C., man, and this dude comes with straight up brutal honesty, man. He never panders to any particular group, he never changes his position on any particular topic, no matter how controversial it may be, you know what I mean? So I mean, the dude got my respect for having the courage to at least stick on some principles, you know what I'm saying? His principles has always been going back to the Constitution and respecting the Constitution and respecting the freedom and liberty of each individual citizen. So, I mean, he got my respect on that. I hope he'd eventually have your respect as well. Maybe we can get him in as president in 2012. Not too sure if you're in for that, but looking forward to hearing from you, partner. Peace.